Hello friends, welcome back to BioOneEducation. In episode 4, we learned how molecules cross the cell membrane. Today we zoom out to the whole plant and ask a stunning question. How does water travel from the soil all the way up to the top of 100-meter tall tree without any mechanical pump? Our topic is transport in plants. We will cover water absorption, the pathway through roots, transpiration, pull, phloem translocation, and finish with the exam tricks and animations. Let us begin. This chapter scores 2 or 3 questions in most NEET papers and it connects directly to the osmosis you learned in episode 4. Many questions are about theories and their names, so recall matters. My advice for every pathway, ask 3 questions. What is being transported? Which tissue carries it? And what force drives it? That framework covers almost every question NEET can throw at you. Before anything moves, we need to understand what drives water. The answer is water potential, written as the Greek letter psi. Water always moves from higher water potential to lower water potential. Water potential has 2 parts: solute potential, also called osmotic potential, which is always negative because adding solute lowers the potential, and pressure potential, which is usually positive in plant cells because the cell wall pushes back. Pure water at atmospheric pressure has a water potential of 0, the highest possible value. So, every solution has a negative water potential compared to pure water, and water flows towards the more negative side. In a plant, that gradient runs from the soil through the root up the stem and into the leaf. Water enters the plant through root hairs, tiny extension of the root's epidermal cells that massively increase the surface area of absorption. Soil's water potential is higher than the root hairs, so water enters by osmosis. From there, water travels inward through the cortex, passes the pericycle, and finally reaches the xylem. It takes 2 possible routes, the apoplast and the symplast, which we will see next. Absorption can be active or passive. Active absorption happens when root cells pumps ion inwards, lowering water potential and pulling water in. This costs energy. But most water absorption in a living plant is actually passive, driven by transpiration pull from the leaves above, but not by root itself. Water takes 2 roads from the root surface to the xylem. The Apoplast Pathway is the fast lane. Water flows through the cell wall and the spaces between cells. Without ever entering a living cells, no membrane to cross means high speed. The Symplast pathway is slower. Water passes through the cytoplasm of cells, moving from one cell to the next through tiny channels called plasmodesmata. Here is the critical exam point. At the endodermis, there is a waxy band of suberin called the Casparian strip. It blocks the apoplast root completely, so all the water is forced to switch to the symplast and pass through a living cell. This is the plant checkpoint. It decides what ions and molecules are allowed into the xylem. If a question asks about the Casparian strip, remember it forces apoplast water into the symplast at the endodermis. There is a second, weaker force that pushes water up root pressure. When roots actively absorb ions, water follows by osmosis into the xylem, building positive pressure. This push can move water upward in a small, short plant, and it's strongest at night or early morning when transpiration is low and the root keep pumping. This visible proof of root pressure is guttation. Those tiny water droplets you see on grass tip early in the morning, there are not dew. Dew is condensation from the air landing on the surface. Guttation is a liquid water pushed out from inside the plant through special pores called iodotodes at the leaf margins. But root pressure alone is weak. It can only push water a few meters, nowhere near enough for tall tree. For that we need much more powerful engine. Now the star of the chapter, the cohesion-tension theory, also called transpiration pull theory. This is how water reaches the top of the tallest tree on earth. Here is the engine. When water evaporates from the leaf surface during transpiration, it creates a negative pressure, a tension inside the xylem vessel. This tension pulls on the water column below. The water column does not break because of two forces. Cohesion hydrogen bond between water molecule hold them together, giving the column very high tensile strength. And addition water molecules stick to the xylem wall, preventing the column from falling back down. The result is an unbroken chain of water molecule stretching from root all the way to the leaf. When one molecule evaporates from the top, it pulls up the next one up, which pulls the next like a chain being reeled in. This mechanism is powerful enough to lift water over 100 meters. Transpiration is the evaporation of water from plant surfaces. There are three types. Stomatal transpiration is the big one. About 90% of water loss happens through the stomata, the tiny pores controlled by guard cells on the leaf surface. Cuticular transpiration happens through the waxy cuticle, about 8 to 10%, and the lenticular transpiration occurs through lenticles on woody stems, a very small amount. Now, NCERT famously called transpirations necessary evil, and the phrase is a favorite in exam. It is evil because the plant wastes about 99% of water it absorbs, but it is necessary because it drives the ascent of sap, cools the leaf, and helps transport minerals. Plants manage this trade-off by opening and closing their stomata. In drought, the hormone ABS signals the guard cells to close, reducing water loss. Here is the transpiration pull in a single loop animation. Watch the water dots climb up through the xylem as the leaf evaporates at the top, while the root absorbs more from the soil at the bottom. The cohesion label on the left reminds you what holds the column together. For revision, narrates evaporation, pull, cohesion, absorption. One loop covers entire mechanism. Several factors control how fast transpiration happens. Temperature. Higher means more evaporation, faster transpiration. Humidity. If the air is already moist, the concentration gradient is smaller, so transpiration slows. Wind. It blows away the humid layer near the stomata, speeding things up. Light. It triggers stomata to open. True transpiration increases. So transpiration increases in the daytime and drops at night. Carbon dioxide. High CO2 causes stomata to close, reducing transpiration, and leaf area and cuticle thickness matter. More surface area or thinner cuticle means more water loss. NEET loves asking these as match the column. Link each factor to whether it increases or decreases transpiration. Now the other transport system, phloem and food delivery network. Translocation is the movement of food, mainly sucrose, from source where it is made. Typically the leaves, so the sink where it is needed, like roots, fruits, and growing tips. It travel through phloem sieve tubes. The mechanism is the pressure flow or mass flow hypothesis proposed by Munch. At the source, sucrose is actively loaded into the sieve tube, lowering the water potential. So, water enters by osmosis, building high pressure. At the sink, sucrose is unloaded, water leaves, and pressure drops. The pressure difference drives the flow from source to sink. An important difference from xylem phloem transport is bidirectional. It can go up or down depending on whether the sucrose and sink are. Xylem, by contrast, is almost always upward. Here is the Munch pressure flow model in one loop. Watch the orange sugar dots being loaded at the source, flowing rightward through the phloem sieve tube, driven by a pressure gradient and being unloaded at the sink. The labels remind you load, pressure, flow, unload, one loop, one mechanism, the whole story of translocations. Plants don't live on water alone. They need mineral ions too. Most minerals are absorbed actively against their concentration gradient using carrier protein and ATP. Key ions like potassium nitrate and phosphate are pumped in this way. Some ions can also enter passively when the soil concentration is high enough. Once inside the root, minerals dissolve in the xylem sap and travel upward within the transpiration system. Once inside the root, minerals dissolve in the xylem sap and travel upward with the transpiration stream. And here is a beautiful biological partnership. Mycorrhizae fungal association on roots massively boost mineral absorption, especially phosphorus. The fungus gets sugar from the plant in return. This mutualistic symbiosis is so effective that most plants in nature depend on it. Here is the whole transport chapter in one comparison table. Xylem versus phloem side by side. Xylem transport water and mineral upward through dead cells driven passively by transpiration pull. Phloem transport food, mainly sucrose, bidirectionally through living sieve tubes driven by the pressure flow mechanism with active loading at the source. Screenshot this table, it is your one-page revision for the entire chapter. Time to gather every trick into one card. Screenshot this. Transpiration is necessary evil. TACT stands for Transpiration, Adhesion, Cohesion, Tension. The Ascent of Sap theory. The Casparian strip is the checkpoint that forces all water through living cells. Guttation is not a dew. Phloem flows from sources to sink by the Munch pressure flow model. And xylem cells are dead while phloem sieve tubes are living. Say these six out loud a few times and you will remember them in the exam hall. Let us step outside the textbook. Hyperion, the tallest known tree on earth, is a coast redwood standing 116-meter tall. The transpiration cohesion tension mechanism pulls water all the way without any mechanical pump. Biology at its finest. Scientists are engineering drought smart crops, plant with deeper roots and stomata that respond faster to water stress to survive the changing climate. Underground mycorrhizal fungal network connect entire forest, sharing water and nutrient between trees. Scientists call it wood wide web. And remember aquaporins from episode 4, they are just as important in roots, speeding up water entry into root cells and playing a key role in water absorption. Surprise round, where NCERT hides line that become direct questions. In water transport, the main force for ascent of sap is transpiration pull. The apoplast is blocked at the endodermis by Casparian strip. Guttation occurs through iodothodes and transpiration is necessary evil. In phloem and minerals, the pressure flow hypothesis by Munch explained phloem transport. Xylem cells are dead. Phloem transport is bidirectional. Mycorrhiza especially helps absorption phosphorus. More hidden gem. Root pressure alone cannot explain the ascent in tall trees. Plasmodesmata connect Symplast cells. Sieve tubes need companion cells for ATP. ABA hormone closes stomata during drought and photometer measure the rate of transpiration. NEET ask this chapter in four costumes. Assertion and reason. For example, assertion. Water rises in tall trees by transpiration pull. Reason. Cohesion between water molecules keeps them. Reason. Cohesion between water molecules keeps the column intact. Both true. Reason explain the assertion. Match the column. Xylem with water, phloem with sucrose, Guttation with iodothodes, Casparian strip with endodermis. How many are correct? Statements mixing xylem and phloem properties are confusing apoplast and symplast roots. Diagram based label a root cross section showing the two pathways or identify source and sink arrows in a old plant diagram. Rapid fire. Pause. Answer in your head. Then play again. Four or more right. You are exam ready. If not, rewatch the two animation and you will own it. Let us wrap up. Thanks for learning with me. We'll meet next video.